Welcome to the Cognitive Rampage podcast. Yes, I'm your host as usual, people. Adam Lowery. As you know, I'm excited about our first guest for 2016. He should be on any minute. It's the live streaming version of it. That's why it's kind of all out of whack here. The music that starts, etc. And then we edit it all together for the podcast. But Tony Jack the Bear Mantz should be joining me anytime soon. But let's see. Text him here. I'm in. And Tony has been on the podcast after today more than anybody. Tony and I have quite the podcast history. We've done it 4 times now on the podcast, but there's something about the guy. I love talking to him. I love listening to him. We met via a bunch of listen to the other podcasts, and you'll figure out, but we connected via Twitter. Essentially, he reached out to me, I reached out back, and he's been on the podcast multiple times, like I said. But he's a motivator, legendary sound engineer. I think 6 platinum records. I think probably most well known for AC/DC over here in the United States, but he is an Australian badass. Men amongst men over there in Australia, the kingdom of badasses and beautiful women. But Tony will be on any second when he drops in. But Tony he kicked off a video a couple days ago that has hit about 50,000 views now in climbing, and a blogger or a magazine, he'll tell you which one, did an article on him too. But he went off about a couple things that were on his mind. He'll tell you more about it, but you'll hear him, or at least on that video, if you go to my Facebook page, you'll find it, or look up Tony Jack the Bear Mantz on Facebook. Excuse me. And you will find that video. And essentially, like I said, he's a legendary sound engineer, and he works with all kinds of bands, up and coming, old school, legendary, etc. And, I guess a lot of the bands are talking about, trying to make something that's trendy, rather than, and asking all these questions to him about, hey, will Triple J run this? And Triple J is like the mass media outlet over there, right? The connection to all the radio stations, etc. So, always asking. And so it's like they were trying to shape their art, if you will, around what's trendy and what's wanted, rather than just performing, right? And it kind of seems like there was a transition in art that way, as if people are trying to create content rather than just being creative, and that just creates competence or content or art or reflection or music or noise or speech or whatever. But he kind of went off for a couple minutes about trying to tell artists, look, it's about creating. Don't create for the trend, but create for the love. And I think that's the second video. His other video did about 10,000 something views, I think, something like that. And it was talking about he was talking to a group, and it was about I think it was kids or whatever. He was talking about his pursuing music as your dream and passion, and not giving it up, but also the realities of it and what it's really like. But Tony is a legend. Like I said, he's been more and more on the stage. He's been speaking to kids a lot. He does this really unique nonprofit where he raises money for a recovery house for children. He'll tell you more about it. I'll bring it up again. But he essentially offers a day where he will master anybody's music or track, and either all the proceeds or a portion of the proceeds, he basically gives that day to that house that's housing the kids there, because there's minimal help for children apparently in that area. So that's one of the wonderful things that Jack does, on top of mastering great music. He's a motivational speaker, a mover, a shaker. We've talked a lot about him mentoring under Peter Sage. You can look up Peter Sage and all the things he's done. He is a wild and amazing man himself. So Jack's got quite a story. The first time we talked about his DMT trip and how a dimethyltryptamine experience set him off in a whole new direction of life, and changed his life. And he talked about that on our first episode when he appeared. And I think the second time, I don't know. We've talked so much about a lot of things. We've even just caught up randomly before. Um, Let me text him here. Look, I'm introing you at length. So if you're watching this and everybody's seeing this, we are introing you here. This is probably the longest introduction for you ever for the legendary master sound engineer, motivational speaker, guru, no bullshitting man's man, Jack the Bear Mantz, who will appear any minute. It's like a bad magic trick, right? Keep talking about somebody appearing on the podcast. But I have no qualms sitting here chatting with you, drinking a Blue Moon, enjoyed on the Cognitive Rampage. For any beer that guests bring over, if it's not Professor George Brooks and his medieval brew. I love that podcast, by the way. If you haven't listened to it, go back and find Professor George Brooks. He's a medieval specialist, 10-year professor. He was one of my favorite professors, if not probably my most memorable professor in my entire career almost, him and Dr. Jambert. But George Brooks, Professor George Brooks, I always have to say his full name too. Is that weird? Anytime I reference him, I'm like, Professor George Brooks or Dr. George Brooks. But he's a medieval specialist and Renaissance type guy, but really medieval specialist and a master brew maker. He makes his own medieval beer. And on that show, he brought over like 3 or 4 different kinds of beer. We tasted some. We talked about the theories of the fall of Rome. We talked about his research and I think adding to the history books is what we discovered. But, oh, man, I'll probably definitely ask him to come back on. I think he'd do it. I really like talking to Professor George Brooks, but yeah, so I'll have a Blue Moon and wait on the legendary Jack the Bear Mantz. That's 4 intros for you, buddy. Waiting on you to work the technology on the other end. He'll figure it out. He's a man, dude. I love him. Until then, I'll enjoy a nice Blue Moon, the beer of the Cognitive Rampage. Oh, man. Yeah, Jack is a motivator at Sense too. If you also look back, he on our first episode, I think it's session 19. He was like 40 or 50 or 60, shit, I don't know, maybe even 100 pounds overweight. I don't know. I could be adding to you, brother. Sorry if I'm killing you. But he was overweight and went through a full transition. He's lost tons of weight. Now he started jujitsu too. And he's a full-on life changer, man. I mean, seriously, he really does. His podcast too, look it up on YouTube. It's like a YouTube cast, really, but a YouTube channel, and that's Melbourne Real. I really like that podcast. He has some interesting guests on over there. I'm actually looking at him now, and he's asking me the link. Which email? Well, we have an email that we use for guests. And so when we have guests on virtually that aren't in the Cognitive Cave, we have a email set up that we send to them that they sign on to, and then they can join the Hangout. The reason we use Google Hangout instead of Skype is for various reasons. But one of the reasons is because it broadcasts live from YouTube, and we can invite people to join the podcast live. And so the recordings that you may be watching, if you watch on YouTube, if you have gone to the website, you can also watch the recordings of the podcast and the guests that we have on that aren't in the cave. We also this year will be streaming live guests within the podcast. See, so that's why we're also using Google Hangout, because it's linked to YouTube, right? Google bought YouTube, so they're linked together. So when you stream through Google Hangout, you actually can stream live through YouTube and vice versa. But eventually, we'll just be streaming live through YouTube. But with Google Hangout, we're going to stream certain podcasts and invite members. So certain members of the tribe, if you will, the tribe of change, as you submit your email, comments, and likes and things on social media. Once you do that, we'll eventually pick somebody and kind of invite certain people. So if you find us on Google Plus is actually the best way to do it. If you find us on Google Plus, we'll connect with you there, and we can actually directly invite you. So if you want to sit in on a podcast when we record another virtual guest, I think, yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we booked out pretty much the rest of January, with guests now, and it looks like about 2 or 3 guests a week starting next week we're gonna be having on. It's gonna be quite busy. Plus, I'll be doing a podcast once a week, maybe even twice, plus some YouTube videos like pick me ups. And once the book comes out, like I said, I'll be doing kind of a review. Let me hit him up now. Which email, buddy? Which email? I can re-invite you. Don't worry. And until then, open up a nice blue moon if you're hanging out in a safe place, in a safe environment, and you don't have issues like or history with it. I'm not a big fan of alcohol, really. Sorry, but I'm just not. But I'll have a beer once in a while. Mm. I wish I could tell you more about Jack, but he's going to be on here in a second, eventually. Mm-hmm. Yes. Here we go. So in between there, what was I telling you? Kind of I already told you what the podcasts are, how many podcasts we're doing. It's going to be a busy year, honestly. I mean, we just got started at the end of January and booked out what 5 guests or so, and the book should drop in a couple weeks. The editing process, it's like the final edit, really. And once they're through that final edit, then it's got to go to where they format everything. They format the inside, the illustrations, etc., and make sure everything's up to par and organized out. Then we have the cover. Actually, the cover's already designed, so at least we won't have to be waiting on a cover to get done. We will already have that taken care of. There, I got to send another email real quick. I got it set up on me, man. It's okay. Bear with me. Sorry. I know if you're watching the video or watching live or even listening to the podcast now, and actually the podcast will be edited. Steve will make sure you won't have any of this silence in there. But if you're watching now on YouTube, for the little hesitation, but technology sometimes will do that to you. Uh, it's all set up pretty easily, though. I'll find the right email. There we go. My man should join us any minute. There's the right. I thought possibly he was on our email, but excuse me, he's using his. So Jack the Bear will probably make quite a grand entrance once he appears in the bottom box. You'll not have to look at my wonderful face for so long when he comes in. But who knows where Jack goes once he starts poking and prodding around some motivation and some talking. But I want to see if we can stick to talking about his perceptions about music today. What he sees in Australia anyway, with artists up and coming and what they expect or what music is trying to be made. Mm, excuse me. But I do have one. I actually there's a topic I do want to talk to him about. It's kind of along those lines about the way you're seeing content get created online as the same as you're getting seeing it created offline, whether it's music, media, or anything else. Just be happy there's a mute on the microphone there. All right, man. Drum roll, please, for the legendary Jack the Bear Mantz. For those of you bearing with us live watching the video, this is where it gets kind of fun. I wish I could show you. Well, I will tell you what we are doing in the cave. See this one boring ass view that's here now? This will go away because seeing my face is not what you want to do. See, I try to do what I can anyway, so you don't see it. But we will have a dual camera system, maybe a triple camera system here in the Cognitive Cave the next couple weeks, to where guests that are in the cave will be on camera, as well as less frequently myself and maybe Steve if he decides to put a camera on himself. And that way we can start to stream live from YouTube and introducing the legendary, the man. There he is.
There you are.
What's going
buddy.
on?
Sorry about the extended extension on your podcast there, mate. Google Hangout and I are not the best of friends, but we will become good buddies in due course.
Hey, you know what, man? Don't worry, because you know what it allowed me to do was probably give the longest, most deserved intro on the planet that has ever happened. And
okay, I see that the checks have come through. Excellent.
Yeah, you got about 10 minutes of a long intro of who you are. I will say, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Coming from you, that's very generous praise, Adam. Thank you. How are you, mate?
I'm great, man. I am terrific, actually. And on a rare occasion, having a blue moon, even though I'm back into a full swing of training.
Good. What sort of training are you doing?
It's 5 days a week, man. Free weights mixed with some kettlebells, some calisthenics, little MMA stuff. And I noticed you were at the MMA gym not long ago.
Yeah, man. I'm about to get myself sort of into the martial arts scene again. I think it's time. I've been doing for the last for nearly 5 years now that I've been training consistently. It's just been predominantly free weights, strength conditioning, some cardio, a little boxing. Yeah, man. So I found this really cool place. It's not far from where I live, and I checked it out. And so, yeah, just something a little bit different, but also, yeah, it's good, move your body in different ways, and also just from a cognitive standpoint, using your mind a little differently, because, in a combative situation, it's a bit like a game of chess, so you think about moves and trying to think a few moves ahead of your opponent. So there's a good mental aspect to it as well. Whereas, doing weights, it's a good mental aspect to it. It's still a release, but it can be at times a little one-dimensional. And
I would agree.
I can't see a reason why I won't stop doing some kind of, weight training, resistance training, because I think it's good, particularly as you get older, to be, working on good muscle mass. And as our friend Steve Maxwell said, when we're going to have him on my podcast next month, I'm delighted to report. He said that, people, the most common cause of death in the world is falling, more than cancer, diabetes, anything else, or the complications that are attributed to someone having a fall. And as people get older, less muscle mass, less muscle tone, they don't move as much, they're not as sturdy on their feet, they're not as strong. There's more than likely that they will fall, and then once they break a hip or something, then it just causes a whole myriad of issues. So want to avoid that shit, Adam Lowery, as much as possible. So
well, I was telling them on the long intro, how you had lost a ton of weight and had done really a lot of work to get to where you are now. And I just remember I saw your post a little while ago that I believe your quote said, and so it begins again, something like that.
Yeah. Because look, I've dabbled in martial arts in my life and always enjoyed it. So hence the reason, just so it begins again. It's just coming back to it. Not that I guess you could argue I never really left it, but it's been a while. It's time to and again, you know what, Adam, a great challenge. One of the things I love about being, I'm going to be 53 this year, and I've never felt more alive in my whole entire fucking life, my friend, from a holistic point of view, you know, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. It's all really starting to fire up beautifully now. And so I want to embrace as many challenges as I can without biting off more than I could chew, but still, you know, just taking it on, man, and enjoying the experience of it, and getting my feet wet, and you know, meeting new people and having new experiences and creating new memories, because that's currency, man. You know, I say memories and experiences is what it's about. You know, if you're going to acquire anything, don't worry about acquiring fucking cash, man. Acquire experiences and great memories, because, you know, as we get on, that's what we have left. That's what we're going to take with us. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, my mission is to try and accumulate as many as I possibly can, you know, for whatever time I have, which none of us know. So, you know, I'm just going to cram it in, my friend.
So already I've been on the mic here, what, 10 minutes with you, and already put off a nice cognitive rampage for 2016, man, about how you're going to attack as you normally do, man. And, you know, your posts don't change. And just like your last video that, well, that's 2 viral videos almost back to back in a couple weeks, you know, kind of going off, man. Tell me about that day. What was going down that day, man, before you just went off?
Well, that video from the other day, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It was basically born out of some frustration I had with a few clients who, in recent times, were asking me whether the music that they were creating was going to be good enough to be played on a radio station here in Australia called Triple J, which is a national broadcaster that's run by the government. And it's meant to be, you know, it's the supposed youth network, which is there to promote new music and independent bands and give, you know, new artists a voice. And look, I've never run a radio station, man. You know, I'm not the one person who's going to sit there and point the finger at how the show's run. But if you do take the opportunity to listen to it, I don't think they're probably representing a lot of, I mean, they have an outlet called Triple J Unearthed, but it's not on that station. It's just this little internet thing. And it has its place and it's valid and it's still there, but it's not the same as, you know, people jumping into the car and being able to listen to these bands being played. But anyway, a lot of bands are trying to fit this mold, and it just comes down to this whole thing of they're looking for validation, you know, in the wrong places and for the wrong reasons. And as I said, look, it's cool, man. We all want to fit in. We all want to be part of the gang. You know, radio is a very important part of marketing your song, and particularly with a station like Triple J, which they're very dominant. They have a lot of reach. They're influential, all those things. And yeah, I understand that. But, you know, I just thought that I wanted to talk to, you know, artists and invite them to consider that, you know what, if you're making music, and particularly in this environment when you are paying out of your own pocket and doing some pretty shitty jobs to make the money, you have to fucking at least enjoy it, man. Do you know what I mean? Because no one makes a lot of cash doing this. This is about pleasure. This is about expression. This is about, you know, you're putting your heart and soul on the line. You're putting out, you know, your story. And it's like with anything, man. When your heart and mind are connected, you know, people relate when, you know, it's coming from that place of authenticity, that place of truth, you know, your truth, whatever that may be. But there's an honesty in it. And so when you're trying to create something that really isn't you, but what you think others want to listen to, it becomes quite contrived. And I think it defeats the purpose. I think you're setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment. So, you know, if you're in a band and if you're in a project where your mission statement is, we're just going to create a commodity to try and fit into the current trend. Well, I can respect that, because at least that's still coming from a place of honesty. You're saying, okay, we are going to try and supply a demand. But I think most musicians do it because they love it. And it's their outlet, and it's about their creativity. So be true to that. Yeah, and as I said to him, be a trendsetter. Don't be caught up in worrying about what other people may or may not think, because you're never going to get 100% of the people on board. And if you try to, it's a losing battle. You're pissing in the wind. So you got to get over that and just do what you do, and people will jump on board. And if they don't jump on board, well, they don't jump on board. It's not the end of the world. The main thing is that you enjoy the process. That old cliche of the journey. It's, as I tell all my clients, you guys have, quote unquote, made it simply by the fact that you're here and you're in the moment creating your art to put out there to people. That is the making it in my view. After that, then it becomes about, okay, what, the money will come once you start providing value, and whatever value that is. And everyone's got a different perception of what is value to them. But money is simply a byproduct of value. But you got to love what you do, Adam Lowery. Fuck. You really got to love it. If this is part of your identity, if you identify in the world as a musician, as an artist, be that fucking artist and just do that fucking thing that lights you up and makes you happy. And people will jump on board. Eventually they have to jump on board. If they don't, just keep at it. Just keep at it. What about if you go through your whole life and you never, quote unquote, make it? We'll define make it as shitloads of money, coke and hookers on tap, whatever you fucking want. Let's say do, but then what's after that? What's after that? Do you know what I mean? Does it stop? Is that the end? No. You're going to go out and you're going to keep making more of the same shit. So go out there and fucking do it. And I just encourage kids to just do it, man. That's it. Have fun. Happiness is your fucking birthright. Just go out there and claim it, kids. Claim that shit.
It is. And how much do you think that's even rubbed over into content today that you see on the web, whether that's YouTube channels or posts, even memes? How much of that drive do you see to where, we're getting this excessive noise, right? This excessive content that seems to be being created due just to draw people in and not really from this expressive standpoint.
Oh, look, I think there's more noise than ever, and kids have been bombarded, with this programming of, you're not good enough, or in order to be cool, you have to be like this or do that, and it's look, man, it's whether it's in the schoolyard or online, it's hard not to be influenced by all that stuff, and it requires I think first of all some awareness and I guess some strength of character and resolve to say, you know what, I'm not going to buy into this bullshit, and I'm just going to go on and do my thing. But yeah, man, look, it's fucking everywhere. And there's one thing that really came out from the feedback of people is that people are wanting it, man. They want some honesty. They want some integrity. They want some authenticity. They're looking for it, and it's out there. But I don't think a lot is really being pushed out, in terms of like telling it how it is, being real, and certainly what I have to say, that's just my perspective. That's just my opinion.
No, do you think
I'm not looking to impose anything on anybody. I'm just sharing a point of view, but seems to me like a lot of people are resonating with it, and it's something that is needed to be heard. So I'm just delighted that people have jumped on and have been very receptive to it, my friend.
Well, I think it's it's of course. I mean, when you start spitting the truth out there like that, it makes you wonder, man. When you say that people are thirsty for the truth, and how does that, or how could that relate to, say, music today? I mean, dude, you've been around music for a long time, and has music, you think, today veered away from telling stories and the truth, and is it more of facades, or what's the state of music today as far as telling authentic stories?
Well, yeah, man, I think that it's not all doom and gloom. What we have now is just a lot more of it, and therefore there's a lot more shit to wade through to get to the gold. Yeah, I think there's plenty of people out there that are making great music, and yes, it still is about storytelling. I think that's what songs are, man. They're unless it's a very catchy, commercial, kind of quirky thing that it does nothing else but simply entertain and amuse you for 3.5 minutes. Yeah, look, if you talk about the artists I work with quite often, yeah, there's always some kind of story or an expression that's being put out there. And look, there's a lot of good stuff out there, Adam. There really is. It just requires you to basically, focus in on it and look for it. Look, I tend to be quite lucky because I get to work with a lot of great artists, but also they're just online, just people will forward shit to me all the time. And it can be hit and miss, but the ones that hit, they hit fucking hard. So there's plenty out there, man.
Well, that kind of leads me to a question I was kind of alluding to is what would you say seems to be more important these days, man? Making the authentic good art or searching for the, 2 million likes and views?
Oh, definitely the former. Look, we got a situation now, Adam, where people are paying companies to fabricate, all these likes and shares and stuff online to prop them up and make them look bigger and better than they actually are. And it's, it's a recipe for disaster because at some point you have to pay the butcher's bill. And, you can go out there and represent yourself a certain way and have all the, a lot of sizzle, but no fucking sausage, So,
yeah,
definitely definitely what you said beforehand, man. People could argue and say, well, look, man, that's all fine and dandy, but it's not going to pay the bills. But that's not why you do it in the first place. It's not there as a vehicle to pay bills. That's the wrong motivation. That's just, again, it's like Peter Sage's white rabbit curse. It's everything is everything, and it's not just music, man. It's fucking anything. Why are you doing it? I mean, what you have to ask yourself: why the fuck am I doing what I'm doing? What is my motivation? And unless it comes from a place of, well, I think I have something of value that I want to share with the world. I think I have a gift. I think I have something to offer people, and you do it from that place. Then if you don't go to that place, then I think you're really setting yourself up for. It's like it's the difference between asking a girl out because you have a serious, honourable intent with her, as opposed to sweet talking her because you just want to nail her and then get rid of her.
Yeah. That kind of leads to, that idea of, we talk about there's so much more choice out there now because, there's so many more methods to put your music out there, and with so much more noise. Do you think that's possibly why either people have gotten better at pointing out unauthentic, people, music, things, content, and have become like more thirsty for authentic content?
Probably. That sounds reasonably plausible to me. I don't know if I really have the answer to that question. I think truth, authenticity is something that people always relate to, always respect. The challenge is to be that way all the time, to just live your life in that fashion. And it's not always easy. It really isn't always easy, man. Because
well, how sometimes do you do it? What do you do day in and day out, man, to make sure that you stay that?
Well, I guess in my case, man, I apply the rule of the old golden rule, do unto others, that exercise as much empathy as I can, and really think about it from the perspective of being in the other person's shoes. So, how would I like to be treated in a business meeting, or if I'm dealing with a client? If I was the client, what would I reasonably expect? And hey, man, I'm no fucking ninja when it comes to being, absolutely 100% on point with everything. I'm a work in progress, but I feel like I've made some great advances, and I'm getting better at it, and I'm seeing the results of it. But man, I just try and live my life as best as I can, and I think living your life as best you can firstly involves in loving yourself. Until you get to that place where you can really love yourself, Adam, accept yourself, and be comfortable in your own skin, and understand that you're perfectly fine. You're absolutely fine. There's nothing fucking wrong with you. You don't need to fit the mold of any particular person or organization. You can stand on your own 2 feet and be happy there. I think that's the foundation. That's the start. So my thing for me is working on that, just working on loving myself, treating myself well, being as you know, my closing statement of late is telling people, you know, be nice to each other, but more importantly, be nice to yourself. And I think that's really true. And I think until you get to that state where you can do that, no one's going to fucking love you, man, or love you really, really well until you are lovable. You know, once people are drawn to that. I mean, I don't know about you, Adam, Larry, but I can tell you now, as someone who admires the fairer sex, it's all good to have a look at someone who looks really hot. But if a girl hasn't got confidence, she hasn't got just that energy of, she knows she's not a princess, she's not arrogant, but she just knows, you know what, I'm cool the way I am. I accept me. I accept my curves. I accept my flaws. This is who I am. And you either take it or leave it. That to me has got so much more sex appeal, so much more just appeal in general than, you know, someone who's completely hot and putting on the facade and doing all that kind of business. So I don't know if I've answered the question well enough for you, bro, but
no, you have, because I mean, you see artists of all ages all day, you know, this is what you do. And, you know, I wonder how much of, you know, an artist finding themselves or acceptance or that self-love plays into the, you know, the creation or the result or outlet of their art reflection.
Yeah, I think it's a big part of it. But I see that there are a lot who struggle with it. Look, man, the whole self-esteem thing is a very big one for everyone. I don't know anyone, honestly, or very, very few people that don't, if they're really fucking honest about it, don't struggle with it. And everyone's, you know, operating at their level of awareness, and everyone's on their own journey with it. And some people have got a better handle on it than others, but it's still a major thing for a lot of people. But most people don't really like talking about it, maybe because they're embarrassed, or they worry about what people think about them if they raise it, or they may feel less of a person if they come out and talk about these kind of things. So,
well, it's a tough place, man, because, you know, the world we live in talks about a tough guy can't want for anything, when truthfully, we know that from a human standpoint, we all want love and acceptance on a base level. And so if, you know, we don't get that love and acceptance, man, that really reflects in our treatment of self. Like you say, it really reflects in how we treat ourselves.
Yeah. And it's all part of the programming, you know, which I think we've talked about before. It's, we were given unconditional love as newborns, and at the point when we can start communicating with our parents, even on a very, very primitive level, all of a sudden there's this sense of responsibility that's placed upon you, you know, because you understand, you can communicate, and so therefore everything becomes conditional. You know, if Adam wants the cookie, Adam's going to have to shut the fuck up and stay in his high chair, you know, for a couple of minutes. But that's all part of it. But dude, it's true. It's true. You're laughing, but it's true.
Yeah, it is.
And that starts the programming. And so we go through life. All, as you said before, we all have a fundamental need to be loved. And when we are brought up by people that we look up to, that we depend upon, you know, we're looking for their approval all the time.
You got someone in the background there, man? It's covering you up there.
Oh, sorry, it's a bit noisy, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the sorry, that's Andre in the kitchen on the microwave, just nuking his food. He won't say, how much longer on the microwave? How much? Sorry, man. How many seconds? 2.5. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now, Adam? Is this all right, or is it still?
I hear you good. I just also hear somebody else in the background talking.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, no, it's just my protege and his client in the kitchen just talking about it. So that's okay.
Oh yeah, good.
It's all good.
I just hear you both really well.
Okay.
Well, cutting over each other.
They're all good. No. They've been told. So, dude, how fucking nuts was that? The feedback to the video, though. I'm still blown away by it, Adam. Honestly.
You know what? I gotta be honest. You know what I see, Jack, is like the more you reveal, like you've been doing something way too long not to be considered an honest master in it. And so when your instincts are reporting to you, you're like responding to them. And I'm watching you. The more you more quickly respond to your like primal grown evolutionary instincts, it's like the more and more popular your videos become, right? The more you reveal your real wisdom. I mean, because look, you've earned wisdom because of the shit that you've been through, the shots you've taken in the industry that you've been in. That's wisdom earned. That hasn't been silver spoon given to you. And so when you earn wisdom like that, your body, your mind, it responds, and it's responding to moments. And the faster you're like cutting on the camera and going to it, it's like the more authentic the bear is becoming.
Yeah. No, I'm loving it, dude. I'm loving it. I'm feeling more and more comfortable. I think it's also the fact that with this work with doing with Peter, I found my identity, you know, and it was always there. This isn't something that just sort of popped in. As I've discovered, that was always there. It's just now, after having let it go of all the shit I never was, and finally accepted that, you know what, this is my gift. You know, everyone's got a gift. And yes, I'm a good mastering engineer, but I'm a good speaker. I'm a good communicator, and I think I do it in a different way. You know, it's not polished, it's not elegant, it's not eloquent, it's a little raw, but it's honest, man. You know, when I'm you know, if I'm bringing it, this is why I don't believe in scripts and taking notes and cue cards and shit like that. I think of something and bang, it's just on. You know, warts and all, mistakes, hiccups, ums and ahs, whatever. It just is what it is. And
yeah, I think. Oh, my bad. I didn't go ahead, man.
No, you go ahead. No, you go.
I was listening to this interview with this lady Amelia Boone on Tim Ferriss. It's worth a listen, man. But she's wild, man. She is. I think she's won like more of those tough endurance races than anybody else. And,
wow.
Yeah, and Tim Ferriss asked her when she thought of, you know, someone that was successful, who does she think of? And she thought about, and she quickly responded saying, you know, those people that choose to live their life by, you know, the whim as far as the career. You know, they don't follow the path, they follow those dreams, those interests, those passions, you know, like you have, and they follow them their whole life, you know. And she saw that as being successful. When, like you said, people that are in your studio doing what they're doing, you know, they don't realize it, but in that moment, that is the successful moment, you know, when they're flowing and following their dream like that, just like she points out.
Yeah, you know, because there was a point where, as I pointed out to some kids, you know, there was a point where you were dreaming about doing this shit. You know, when you were completely on the outer, looking in with your nose pressed up against the glass, and now you're in it and you're doing it. You know, so you can't tell me that's not progress, and you can't tell me that's not success, because others would still only dream about doing this stuff. And again, because they don't feel they're good enough, because they don't feel they're worthy of it, they don't go out there and do it. And so it's very easy to provide excuses like, you know, I don't have the money, I don't have the resources, I'm this, I'm not that, and whatever. And that just keeps holding you back, holding you back, holding you back. So even to be able to do it with the challenge of the whole self-esteem stuff going on in the background, I mean, that's fucking phenomenal. It's phenomenal, you know. But, you know, once you get more into that flow state, Adam, that's when the shit really happens. You know, that's the key, is just to let go of all that shit. And I'm not saying it's easy, because you know what, this kind of stuff I'm talking about the lack of self-esteem, was the narrative of my life for a long period of time. And people are really surprised when I tell them, and they say, fuck, really? We never would have thought so. Because I too was putting on the facade to the world that everything was fucking great and, you know, and peachy, and inside it was just mush, you know? So I get it. I completely get it. And so this is, I think, where I have another aspect of value, is that I can share that and be really transparent about it. And so they know, you know what, you're not alone in this. You're not alone. You are not an island unto yourself. And you're not the only person who's affected in the same way. This is a universal thing. But I think the more people that are prepared to stand up, talk about it, you know, and talk, you know, the same thing with mental illness, you know, people who will stand up and talk about mental illness and the issues they've had with it. This is really important, man. It's really important. The more people that hear this stuff, the better, I think, the better off we're all going to be, you know, and not just talk about it, but to also, you know, share the experience and provide tools and strategies to help people. You know, it's great to sit and say, well, here's my story, but you know, also give them something to take away. You know, that has some value that they can implement to make a difference, rather than just, you know, spit out all the information and leave it at that.
Yeah, you know, giving them that, you know, that experience, I think is kind of what you're talking about. You know, you sprung a thought in my head. You know, a little while ago, you were talking about trying to tell young artists, you know, the joy of making the art itself is something that, you know, should be reveled in, that should be liked. And I wonder, you know, if the definition of the art of being an artist has changed, and if it has anything to do with kind of the difference of, look, I'm an artist and I have the love of just making it, or do you actually become the artist because you're successful when you make something with it? Meaning, if you make money with your art, then you become successful. Has this defined the artist, as opposed to, you know, the artist is really finding the love and just making the art?
Look, I think it's really ultimately about just loving what you do and making the art. And as I said to you before, all that stuff of money and accolades and recognition are all simply bonuses. That's all they are. They're just byproducts. You know, so until you really are in that space of doing it purely for the love and the enjoyment, I don't think you'll be as successful. You know, if you want to define success purely as money, that's fine. That's not my framework. I don't frame it that way. I really, as I said to people, even what I do, man, you know, I never got involved in this because I was looking for a big fat paycheck. I just wanted a lifestyle, man. My motivation was simply this. I want to be able to do a job that I love every day, that I can get up on a Monday morning and not give a fuck that it's Monday, have freedom and flexibility to do what I want, and not have some 24-year-old fucking spotty-faced college graduate telling me when I can't take a piss at work. And also, by doing that, helping people to create their vision. That was it. That's the motivation. Everything else is just fucking gravy, dude. You know, for a long period of time, I had to work jobs. Shit, man, my business didn't hit critical. You know, I've been involved in music since I was 18, 19 years of age. It wasn't until I was 40 years of age, Adam, that I built enough critical mass in my business that I didn't rely on extra work to keep things afloat. You know, I opened up the door.
How many years did you put in?
Pardon me?
How many years did you had put in before you really started seeing that?
Well, fuck, 20.
Wow. Now that's a grind. See, and a lot of people in music, they don't get that, right? Are they expecting? Do you see a lot of youngins showing up at your studio going, "Hey, we're going to put this track out and make $1 million next week"?
No, I don't think it's. I don't think there's that much naivety. I certainly. What I see mainly is people treating music a bit like a lottery ticket. Yeah, they may see it as not a fast road to riches, but that is something that enters their mind still. Now, that's not to say that there are a lot that don't. You know, they're true to their art. They do what they need to do. In fact, most of them. Look, most of the people I work with are, and I know this because, as I said yesterday in the video, a lot of them have to do some really shit jobs, man, to subsidize paying to make art, which they know full well they'll probably get no return on. You know, they are, you know, an accountant would look at that business model and just say, this is a disaster. You know, why the fuck you keep doing it? But, you know, accountants don't understand, you know, job satisfaction and passion and love. You know, this is not just a numbers game and about, you know, balancing statements and you know, KPIs and all this kind of stuff. You know, I mean, while it's important to be business savvy and have business acumen and all that kind of stuff, really, ultimately it's just about doing what you do and doing it to the best of your ability and doing it with as much fucking heart and soul as possible. And that's what creates the value. That's what creates the value, you know? So, yeah, man.
I mean, how could you relate that even? Because I know you're talking about music here, but there's tons of people out there, and you're a speaker anyway. And look, you talk to kids a lot, and you talked about helping people express their vision was important to you. And I mean, for one, it's maybe the question is probably two-part. Is that why you like working with kids? Because you like to help them, show them how to express their vision and follow dreams and show them a way to do it. Uh, and you know what? I just stick with that. Is that kind of why you stick with the kids a lot? Is helping them express that vision that way?
I think when you get in while they're young, Adam, they're more kids. Young kids are usually a lot more enthusiastic than middle-aged men. Okay, they still have some stars in their eyes. They still have hope. They're enthusiastic. And that is a good state to get them in, and also because they got a whole life ahead of them, man. And when I was a kid, I understood the struggle of what I had to go through to get to where I had to go, and so I feel like, you know what, as an older cat, I feel a sense of responsibility to at least share that with the kids who are open to it, who are willing to listen, who want the input. Because as a youngster, I had great mentoring, and I never forgot that. Never forgot that, Adam, how invaluable it was, because it wasn't just the mentoring in the technical aspects of my job, but it was all about life. And one great story I can relay to you is this guy called Rick Essig, who taught me how to cut vinyl records in New York City. He said to me, "Let me tell you something straight up." He said, 80% of this job is bullshit. What do you mean by that? He said, it's bullshit, man. It's all about, just relationships. It's about fostering and nurturing these relationships. You may not be the best guy on the block in terms of an engineer. Yes, you got to be good. You need to have your chops up. Of course, you need to have a certain level of proficiency. But ultimately, the people that are going to hang with you are the people that like you, that feel like you're engaged with them, that feel like you are honestly wanting to be a part of what they're creating, and you're not seeing them as, oh, great, I'm going to be able to cover my nut this month, with this job that's coming in, and treating it as like a commodity. So when he talks about bullshit, it's a bit of a, I guess you could say it's a bit of a game, but it's just about the relationships. And this is why I've said we are in a relationship economy. I don't consider myself to be the best engineer in the world, Adam. I'm good. Of course I'm good. I mean, I'm a great engineer. But as I said before, people will come and work with me because fundamentally they like me. They like being in my company. They enjoy the space. They enjoy the experience I provide for them. And more than anything, you could probably go to a guy that's a bit more, could be better. I mean, better is a relative thing. But if he's a complete fucking asshole, you're not going to be hanging around him very long, are you? At least I don't think you will.
No, well, I don't want the asshole touching my music either. You know what I mean?
No.
I want the guy who loves, we got a connection, we got a something, something connected. But, that second part question I was leading to is, we're talking about those that are, pursuing dreams in music, but, you're a speaker to all people. And when you speak to kids, it's not just about music, I don't think. What else could you, pitch that same broad idea, take that music idea of following the passion, the dream for the experience.
Yeah, it could. No, you're right. It could apply to anyone, and regardless of background. It doesn't matter whether you're an accountant and you want to go and be a gardener tending to roses, or you're a guy that worked as an engineer, as a electrical engineer, but all you want to do is fish. You want to go on the boat, you want to go big game fishing or doing something like that. Ultimately, it's about just finding what really lights you up and what really gets you excited and give you that fucking heart on to get out of bed and pursue the thing. People are just afraid, man. They're just afraid because people are thinking too much about, well, fuck, I can't make money. How am I supposed to make money? I don't know if you've seen that Alan Watts video, What If Money Was No Object? It is the most beautiful fucking 4 minutes you'll ever spend, my friend. And this guy breaks it down so beautifully. And he just says, you just got to do what you love doing. If you can imagine a world where there was no money, you didn't have to worry about money. Things are taken care of. How would you spend your days? What would you do? And of course, I'm not suggesting that, by pursuing your dream, of course, you got to be on point and think about paying bills and be smart about it. I was building a business and I had some external jobs, but over time, as my business grew, then my reliance on the external income became less and less, to the point where, as I said, I hit that point of critical mass and away I went. But it can apply to anyone, man. Ultimately, it's just about finding what it is that you love and what excites you. But I think people, you know what, Adam, I've got a theory. I think a lot of people are just as afraid of success as they are of failure.
Mm.
I think they're afraid of it. And again, I think this comes down to they're not deserving of it. They don't feel worthy and deserving of it. And it's fucking sad, man. It's fucking sad.
I think that's an interesting point, because the fear part that you talk about is the question that I wrote down here was, what's the idea where people have, what I wrote down here was plan versus action. And so how many people stay so focused on having a plan before taking action? Or could action really just be a part of the plan just by taking action?
Well, I think ultimately it's always going to come down to action. Look, I'm not a great one for planning and writing things down and getting right into the minutiae of everything and having a very strict kind of timetable and getting involved in fucking flow charts and pie charts and graphs and all that sort of shit. It ultimately just comes down to pulling the trigger. At some stage, you're going to either shit or get off the pot. Yeah. So I think it's that whole thing of, people, planning is fine and has its place, but it's another form of procrastination. Or I need to research this more. I need to look into this more. I need to study it further. I need to talk to some other people about it. Because people want fucking certainty. We're addicted to fucking certainty. We need fucking certainty. And once you can let go of the need for certainty and understand that, life is fucking life, man. It's fucking all over the show. It's completely out of fucking control. You got to bend to the universe, man, not the other way around. The universe doesn't give a fuck. It's doing its thing. And the only way I think you get mastery of it is simply by, what's that saying? To the still mind, the universe is your servant or something like that. Again, it's letting go of the need for control, surrendering to something, but not in a lie back and be apathetic and not giving a fuck surrender, but just trusting and doing your thing with a sense of inevitability that wherever it is you're going, you're as good as there. So if you can have the comfort of knowing that, you know what, I'm going to end up where I need to end up. And right now, this is where I need to be. And it's fucking cool. It may not seem fucking great right now, but I understand that this is where I need to be. There are lessons here for me to learn. There are skills for me to learn. There are people for me to meet. Again, it's just all part of that up and down, twists and turns, this non-linear thing of life. And we're all taught at school that life is linear. There's school, college, marriage, mortgage, death. And that's not what it's about. But most people live that way, and people just, because they expect things to be linear and because things don't work out that way, it's easy to get disappointed and disheartened and say, well, fuck this for a joke, I'm over it. So I think understanding those things certainly helps in allowing you to be more in flow with life and for things to be a little easier and a little bit more fun and not be as tiresome and as full on that way,
Yeah, when you talked about being afraid of success, a lot of people, I know when you say that, would sit here and go, oh, not me. But, I'm going to expand on that a little bit, because I talk about it sometimes, man. But, afraid, because I think sometimes, right, what if people have this one brilliant idea, they think, right, this one last chance? And so maybe, like you're saying, they're afraid of success. So if they attempt this plan or they take action on this last chance and it fails, perhaps maybe because it fails, it's their last chance. So like you said, in the planning is where they really find comfort. And so they really do fear the success, because on the back end of that is potential failure. And maybe it's their last idea, idea or their last chance, you know?
Yeah. Well, nothing's a last chance. It's just a chance. I don't buy into this whole, I don't think people should be thinking, this is the last roll of the dice. It's just a roll of the dice, and it's either going to pay off or it's not going to pay off. And if it doesn't pay off, well, okay, that's cool. The sun's going to come up tomorrow and we're going to move on, provided that you learn from those lessons of how you went about doing what you did. And then more importantly, not just learning it, but actually implementing that. That's what's going to get you through. But I don't know, man. I don't really relate to this idea of, this is the last chance, because once you do that, that creates a sense of desperation. And to be creative in whether it's music or writing or fishing or gardening or whatever, you need to be in a relaxed state. When you're relaxed and you're in flow and you're feeling good and you don't have the anxiety and the tension and the worry and the concern of, and thinking about the what if and the what if, scenario, you're never going to be able to really get your full potential in what you're doing. So, so I don't buy into this whole last chance thing, man. No one knows when their last chance is. We don't. None of us know.
I like that, man, because that's really what I was speaking to, is that irrational idea that some people may think that, this last business idea, this last thought, or even the last relationship, right, is like the last chance. And, you talked about a payoff, and even in the failure, there's payoff somewhere, right?
Totally. I think that's where the jewels are. And I know that seems strange, we've all heard it before, success is faded, turned inside out, and there's all these, cliches about it. But when you look back, at least when I look back on my life, my, classic example, my marriage is a wonderful lesson to me in relationship, understanding that your relationship is about what you bring to the table, irrespective of the context of that relationship, whether it's a personal one or a business one or anything for that matter. Ultimately, why am I involved in this? Why am I doing this? Why the fuck am I doing this? Because I feel I have something to offer of value to that person or to this organization or to whatever, And when you can do that with honesty, then there are the payoffs. So my marriage was terrible, not just for me, but also for my ex-wife. And and I know my story is not a unique one. Many people who've had very bad relationships and marriages, but through the so-called failure of the relationship with this woman, I came out of it so much better for it, because I finally got to grasp this concept of, like, what, the marriage was shit because I got into it for the wrong reason. Simple as that. So it was doomed from the start, and it was just me just playing catch-up football for 17 fucking years, where it got to the point where it affected my health so adversely that, I was told, hey man, you're going to fucking die. You are so fucking close to death's door. It's not funny. Yeah. So, but again, some people could say, well, that was a fucking failure, but I don't see it as a failure. It was a great lesson. Yes, with the benefit of hindsight, I wish I could say, fuck, I wish I knew this sooner, but that's what it had to be for me. That was my journey. I accept that.
You talked about, the why there, and finding out, why you were in the relationship or why in the marriage. And, how much is knowing or finding out our why linked directly to our self-esteem, you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's always, I think it's always about that. I wasn't really in love with this woman that I married, because also I had my issues with lack of self-esteem. I thought I wasn't good enough for anyone better, and ultimately, Adam, I got married. My marriage was really about, we were talking about last chances before. I felt that was my last roll of the dice. That was my last roll of the dice to get my dad's validation and approval, because I didn't go down the path of academia that he expected of me. You see,
so marriage was the last chance to fulfill, like, the supposed to.
Exactly. That's the way I perceived it, and that was the plan. I thought, well, if I do this, then I'll get that, and it didn't work. It didn't work. So but I learned from it, Adam. I learned from it, and it's held me in good stead, from that point on. but certainly, yeah, it was all. It's always about self-esteem, dude. Everything comes down to self-esteem, you know. And depending on where you're at, that I really believe, you know, that you know, we talked about the whole idea of the financial bank account and the emotional bank account. You know, if people start working on their emotional bank account and depositing into that and investing in that and getting that really healthy, everything else just follows suit. It just has it's the fucking law of the universe, man. You know, you can break rules, but you can't break laws. I haven't seen anyone break the laws of fucking gravity at, you know, at sea level, you know. So there's just certain fucking things that are what they are. And once you understand and accept that and work with that, you're going to make better progress in life.
You talked about the emotional bank account, and is, you know, could you say that the way we fill that emotional bank account is with perception?
It's a good question, Adam. I don't know if it's perception. I think it requires knowings. You know, in order for you to have a healthy self-esteem, or at least this is my experience, to have a healthy self-esteem requires you to have certain knowings about yourself, i.e., I was born perfect. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to fit into a certain crowd. The way I'm unique in my own persona, that's what makes me who I am. Rather than, you know, and I think a lot of people don't, you know, everyone's special, Adam. Everyone's beautiful in their own way. Everyone's got a great story to tell, but everyone, or a lot of people certainly don't believe that to be the case. But, you know, if you sit down with someone and actually have a conversation about them and they start opening up, and then you point things out to them like, whoa, that's fucking amazing. You know, you did that. You experienced this, you overcame that. And for a lot of people, they don't see it as a big deal because it's this whole self-esteem thing. The amount of times that people would come up to me, Adam Lowery, and say, oh, geez, you know, you're fucking awesome. You're amazing. You're a legend. You're this, you're that. You've accomplished this. You've done that. And inside, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Well, yeah, you're just saying that because you're just trying to be nice and yeah, thanks, but whatever.
Is that a way I mean, do we try to avoid validation that way so our perception of self doesn't change?
I guess so. I think, again, I think people avoid it because deep down they don't feel that they are worthy of those accolades of that positive input, or maybe they just start to question it, you know, because they're wondering, you know, what's the agenda here? What do people want? Why are they saying this? You know, and being very skeptical or cynical for that matter.
It seems we go back to like three words that I keep jotting down here, which are perceptions, beliefs, and awareness.
Yep. Yeah. You're right on all three counts, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. What would you say, I guess, to that? You know, give them that last cognitive rampage, bro, before we check out. It's late night over here, man. But I mean, what would you rampage before? You know what? You're going to do another viral video the next 2 days, and you're probably going to do it on awareness, perceptions, and beliefs. But let me see if I can get the viral cognitive rampage out of you here first before you make another viral video doing it, man.
Well, all right. So we're talking about beliefs, values, and what else?
Let's see what I said. Rampage for me about the importance or the necessary ideals about awareness, perceptions, and beliefs.
Wow. Okay, put me on the spot here. Well, I think more than anything of all those things is awareness is first and foremost. I think until you become aware of who you are and what your gift is to the world, it's going to be hard to have, you know, beliefs and values and stuff like that. My main interest is really more in the awareness aspect of it, because people need to wake the fuck up, Adam. We just need to wake up to some fundamentals. That is, and I know I keep harping about it. I'm sorry I'm repeating myself, but understand, you were born perfect. There's nothing fucking wrong with you. You are special and you have a gift. And once you have that awareness, then have the belief in that, then you can start acting upon it and giving a gift to the world and showing people who you really are and offering what it is you have, you know, to this world. We all have it, Adam. We all have it. But a lot of people don't have the awareness that they have it, or the belief that they have it, or, you know, perception, whatever. But awareness is the key, man. You know, just being aware, being self-aware, being present, being in the moment, knowing that, you know, this is what you're about. This is what you're here for. You know, this is something that came to me late in life, man. You know, I mean, so there's hope for fucking everybody. There's hope for everybody, man. But you just have to wake the fuck up. It's as simple as that. Just wake the fuck up and understand that, you know what? You have a fucking gift. You have a gift. Find that, and the gift's there. It's already in you. You know what it is. You just have to kind of get rid of all the bullshit that surrounds all that's been protected. Sorry about my phone, man. It's just been a bit crazy today. But, you know, and let go of everything that you never were. Because that's all we're projecting. We're always projecting these fucking facades and all this fucking, these characters and masks and shit, you know, in order to fit in, man. Let go of all that fucking nonsense and get on with it.
Well, you heard it here first on the Cognitive Rampage, man. Before you viral video that shit tomorrow or the next day, man. We got it first.
Well, listen, man, I don't know. That could be my last viral video for all I know. I don't know. Like, you know what, dude? What? I never expected. Listen, hang on. I never expected that to happen, and I didn't do it with that intent. You know, on the morning of me doing that, that was just a heartfelt. That was just a heartfelt thing that I just wanted to put out there because I believe in it. I really believe in it, and you know, and people sense that they felt it. You know, when I was talking about it, dude.
Well, that's what we talked about early on the podcast, right? Was being authentic like that.
All this other stuff is a great bonus. Now, you know, if I do another video and it goes viral, that's all fine, well and good. But I can tell you now, man, whatever I do or put out there, there is no agenda for getting more friends or more this or more exposure or whatever. It's purely driven by the fact that, as I said, I finally discovered I have a gift. I'm good at what I do. I love what I do. I want to put it out there. And I want to be that guy who I espouse to be. You know, if I'm going to talk about this kind of shit, man, you know, I want to be that living example, not just the guy who comes in with the intellectual understanding of all this stuff and dropping science left, right, and center. There's enough of those people out there, Adam. Enough very intelligent, highly schooled, educated people with all the fucking buzzwords going on that, you know, and all the flash and all the presentation, all that shit. But really, man, that's all fine and good, but no one's going to walk away with anything from that. Really, it's just being authentic, being true, being in your heart space, just being in your fucking heart space, out of your head, into your fucking heart, man. That's where it's at. That's what I believe it's about, and that's what people pick up on because we're energetic beings, man. We pick up on each other. People sense it. People know. You can't bullshit a bullshitter, Adam. You cannot do it, my friend. Yeah? You can try all you fucking want, but you get nowhere on that train, baby. And those going nowhere fucking get there.
Oh, I love you, man.
I love you too, bro.
Ooh.
And I really appreciate the opportunity to come on your podcast and speak to your listeners and just express my view on things. It's been a lot of fun. It's great connecting with you. You're a fucking awesome human being. I love what you're doing, and I love the cooperative nature of what we're about because we're both on the same page. We do our thing in different ways, but I think ultimately we both are coming from the same place and we have the same ideals and same values. And you know what's in our heart rings true, you know. And as I said, when I saw you on fucking Rogan, that's what I picked up on. Like this is a genuine motherfucker, you know. He's educated. He knows about fucking pharmaceuticals and science and chemistry and all that sort of stuff. But it was the message, man. It was just the fucking message and the way it was delivered. And that's what captivated me. It's like, you know what? This is the kind of motherfucker I want to hang out with and I could learn from and just want to be around, you know, as a human fucking being, first and foremost. You know, anything that comes out of that is just a bonus, man. But you know, you're the kind of people I like hanging out with.
Oh, man. Well, when I chat with you, man, I get notes. You see this? I get takeaways, brother. When I chat with you, I go home with 3 pages of notes with my lesson and my session with Tony Jack the Bear Mantz. So you're giving me all the big ups, brother. But when you're talking, I'm the one jotting notes, not you, man, you know?
Well, thank you, mate. That's very kind of you. I'm glad that you're getting some value out of this, but it's just good to hang, man. You know, I mean, everyone just, you know, we love being around cool people. We love connection. We crave connection, love, all that kind of stuff, and that's what we do, man. We just love each other. We connect. We have a good old time doing it, and anything else that comes from that is gravy. And if that is going to provide value and that's going to be beneficial to you and anyone else in your life, well, that's great. That's a beautiful bonus on top of it all. Really is.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for providing value to me and experience. I love chatting, man. You'll be on the podcast again, I'm sure, in the next 30
Oh
to
yeah, oh yeah, man. No doubt, no doubt. And thank you very much again for all your support, Adam. And again, just the opportunity to come on your podcast and have a chat, and just where I can come on and really open up my heart to you and your listeners, and just put out what it is I'm putting out, which ultimately is really just, you know, a positive vibe, a loving vibe, hope. And by sharing my story, you know, yes, I do in a very raw kind of way, but, you know, I think that by sharing my story, by sharing my successes and my failures and my inner thoughts, I feel that's where the gift is. That's where I've got something to offer. But, you know, you need to have avenues to do that. And you provided one for me, and I'm just incredibly grateful for it. Thank you so much.
No, man. Thank you, man. Anytime, man. We'll see you again. You know what? Another 30, 60 days. But thank you again, man. Anytime.
All right, man.
Thanks for being the first guest of 2016, brother, and motivating everybody, man. You got me all motivated and ready to go, man.
Well, thanks for having me on, brother. Love you lots, and take care of yourself. And just my parting thing to the listeners, as I always part with, please, everyone, be nice to each other, but more importantly, be nice to yourself.
I love the outro. My love to everybody in Australia, man. As I say, I hope you're taking care of you, man.
Thanks very much, Adam. Take care, brother. Talk to you soon.